Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Fischer. I'm a PhD student and a researcher at the LECo University of Technology. Just a little bit of a background of myself. I'm part of a team at the university, which we call Energy Systems Analysis Team. We are about 8 or 9 PhD students now, working on different aspects. Some of the people work with only with industries, with biorefineries mainly, paper and pulp industries, chemical industries. But in northern Sweden, we also have large-scale mines and steel industry. So we're looking on the system aspects there. And 2 people here, like myself, how does this work? Yeah? Myself here, and Jonas here. We look at energy systems in municipalities. Jonas is involved in a wider European project called Sure City, looking at the medium-sized cities. And myself, I'm involved in 2 Interreg projects. One just concluded, Arctic Energy, and the current one is also an Interreg project called LECo. You all know about the project. I asked Ola to introduce the project, but I think all of you know about it. Some of you have been on the study trip to Germany. So we skipped this part of introducing the project itself. Yeah, and then it's not only the PhDs, we have some seniors, some lecturers, some associated lecturers and professors. So that's a pretty big group doing energy systems analysis in different flavors. Myself, before we get into the introduction here, my background is I'm a civil engineer in electrical engineering. I got it in '92 at the Technical University in Vienna. After that, I had about 10 years of work in the industry, in the energy industry in Austria, a utility first and then Siemens. And after that, my career took a turn, and my family and we decided to go into development work, and I worked for almost 5 years in Uganda for a UNIDO project, United Nations Industrial Development, where I was more or less a consultant on energy efficiency, on energy issues to the local industries. And after that, we haven't got enough yet from Africa, so we decided to continue and got a job in South Africa, in Cape Town, where I, on the one hand, was an advisor to a group of NGOs which worked to push the government towards more renewable energy in their policies. And I think we, and of course the industry, which was then started to grow in South Africa, was quite successful from almost like 0% share in the national policies. We achieved, 32% share of the new generation to be built up to 2030 in the South African policies. And perhaps if you have heard about it, this so-called renewable energy investment program in South Africa is quite successful. There are a lot of large-scale solar PV and large-scale wind power stations are currently built. And it's an auction system. It was an auction system from the very beginning. And perhaps one interesting flavor there, which could be of interest to study also for Ireland and other countries, was that all wind developers were actually forced to a certain percentage to provide or share equity with the local communities in a certain range around the wind farm, and also to invest in community development. So that was seen as a quite successful approach to integrate communities as well, and to avoid as far as possible this NIMBY effect, not in my backyard effect. Back to Sweden, back to Europe, 2014 I came to Sweden and joined the Swedish Bioenergy Association, and was responsible for 2 years for a bioenergy platform, and that was project financed. So you all know how project financing works. When the money ends, that the jobs are lost. So I had to find something new, and for many years back I was thinking about going back to academy, and so I got the possibility and took the opportunity to start at the LECo Technical University, the PhD, and my focus is on municipal energy systems in the Nordic area. And with this, I was involved in Arctic Energy, the one project, and now in LECo. What are we looking at in these 2 days? Today, I think we will build the foundation a little bit. As far as I understood now, many people in this room have these foundations very well built from your previous work, but I think not all of us are perhaps on that level, and we try to get you there somehow. We look at what we expect from these days and why we actually do this work, these projects like LECo. Then we look at energy as a system, as an integrated system from supply to the end use, or other way around, from the demand to the supply, which is also perhaps a more important way of looking at energy systems, from demand to supply. Then we look at what actually can a system model bring us in our work. What insights can we get of that? Does it benefit our project, our work, and in what way? I have prepared a presentation on energy efficiency and renewable energy solutions, which is mainly a collection of pictures, and we talk about the different technologies. I think some examples are perhaps there which you haven't thought about, which we have seen in other projects. And then before the break, which should be at 3:30, we should do a little exercise designing our own reference energy system about the community which we are working in. Then we have the break, and after the break, then we get into energy plan. We start off with an overview with some slides on that, and then try to get it working on our laptops and see how far we can get up to 5 o'clock. And tomorrow is more or less a recap from today, open questions which we will try to answer, and then we work with energy plan until the time runs out, and try to really build a base case from the community, from the project you are thinking about. And then at the end of the day, you will walk home with a ready-made energy plan model in your laptop, and perhaps also some ideas how you could create, develop, construct scenarios, and how to analyze them, and how also to create reports on that, which you then share with your network. Yeah, what do we expect from today? What I expect that we will learn at the end of the training. We will have got a clear picture about how energy is used, how energy is supplied, and how it is integrated with each other. This is, for example, a farm in Germany, one of the places you might have visited, I'm not quite sure, up there. And this farm has got a biogas plant, and this biogas plant uses agricultural wastes from, I think, about 12 or 14 farms around, and they produce biogas, and they feed it into the national gas system. If that is not available, then you could produce electricity or only provide heat to the farm itself. The farm also has solar PV on some of the buildings on the roof, so this is an integrated system just on the farm, producing biogas from the wastes, producing electricity for own production, but also for feeding into the grid. And then this diagram shows a reference energy system, which gives you actually a picture from the energy system on one page only, and that's, I think, the beauty of creating something like that. It has no numbers, no figures, just from left to right, from the supply to the demand, with conversion or generation of electricity and heat, and then it continues transmission, distribution on this sector, and to the end users, final energy consumption. And from my experience, it was always like more or less an aha effect to the people. We have like designed it together to see like everything on one page, and it's sometimes not so easy to grasp how things and energy components, energy parts of the energy system work together. And then we jump into Energy Plan. This is actually the home screen for all of you who have downloaded it and then started to get into it. You will have this picture, which is more or less the same as this in a little bit perhaps more detailed way. Also on the left-hand side, when you had a look at it, this is the supply side, and on the right-hand side we have all the demands from electricity sectors, from the heating, and from the transport sectors and industries. So at the end of the day, or the day tomorrow, you will be able to use energy plan, at least to build a simple model and also to do changes in the energy system, to implement ideas about energy efficiency, like reducing the demand on the one side, and on the other side, replacing perhaps fossil fuel supply by renewable energy sources. And then looking at the reports, at the results which energy plan creates, and use these results in your reporting and further work. So why the hell are we doing all this? Of course, we want to save money. Energy is costly. We talk about energy poverty, not only in African context or in developing countries, but also here when we have households which spend more than 10% of the household income on energy, then we talk about energy poverty, so that your household income is actually, of course, not enough to heat your home to the level you want to have it heated during the cold period. So we want to save money, and this we do as a first step. Usually we have a lot of low-hanging fruits to improve, to conserve energy and improve energy efficiency in a building, in a industry, then the whole picture in the community, in the city. Yeah. And we talked at lunch about self-sufficiency, self-consumption, self-sufficiency. Our energy system looks reliable, but of course it can happen that we have blackouts. I don't know if you have experienced blackouts in Ireland. We have in Sweden. And then if you only have electric heating, for example, and electricity supply is cut off, then you're going to freeze in the winter. I don't know, Ireland is not as cold as Sweden, but 2 years ago we had in the coldest days during February, we had 24 hours no electricity in our house in Sweden. And the temperature dropped from like 22 to 7, 8 degrees in the house, which is not so much fun. Okay, self-sufficiency, but also in the community. Self-sufficiency leads towards that a lot of money is not flowing out of the community, but we invest into local energy sources, we invest into energy efficiency, which can create local jobs, and also on the long run saves money in the community, and we can spend it to something else. So it creates values and it creates jobs in the community. And since LECo is about cooperation, the cooperative model is, I think, also in the foundation of the LECo project, and that's about doing things together. And as we know here in the room, we have a lot of experience, and that is also when you start a project like this in a community, you will have carpenters, you will have electricians, you will have people who know things, who have experience, and then we bring things together and can achieve a lot, starting with small steps in energy efficiency and then going bigger, like you said, 3 megawatt solar PV project, which is quite a huge investment for a community, or I don't know who is behind it. But that's a big investment as compared to solar rooftop installations with 3 kilowatt each. And finally, we need to save our planet. Of course, all of you are aware about climate change, and when we don't do more than what we currently propose to do, we will end up with a much hotter planet. At the moment, we have, I think, 1.1 degrees higher average global surface temperature than as compared to pre-industrial levels. At the Paris Agreement in 2015, the world community agreed that we should be well below 2 degrees, rather 1.5 degrees global warming. And today we have 1.1. And what has been committed today, what the nations want to do, will not allow us to achieve this goal. We are heading more towards 4 to 6 degrees increase on the planet. So this is what we are looking at right now. And this is why we need to get rid of fossil fuel use. The energy share of carbon emissions is about 60%. And then we have, of course, we have transport sectors, we have agricultural land use change and all these things, but 60% is fossil fuel use for global warming or carbon emissions. the Paris Agreement and the United Nations framework on Convention on Climate Change is one part. The other part is, are the Sustainable Development Goals, which is a follow-up program on the Millennium Development Goals. These goals are split up in 17 sub-goals and then 169 sub-goals, again sub-targets under that. And I think for our work today is perhaps the most important part, that you cannot read it, is affordable and clean energy, the goal number 7. And these goals are actually not as the Millennium Development Goals. They have been decided to reduce poverty mainly and reduce hunger and provide access to education in developing countries. The Sustainable Development Goals are designed for the whole planet and also include goal number 13, which looks at the climate itself. And they are actually following, let's say, this headline, promoting prosperity while protecting the planet. And these goals are designed to be applied in all over the world, not only in developing countries. And currently, I think many governments try to implement these goals in their national policies. I think one recent example which I want to mention how a country or a nation implements these goals is New Zealand. I think just yesterday there was this article about the young female prime minister. I forgot her name, but she actually wants to introduce another measure of well-being. The BNP is not sufficient to describe the well-being of a nation. It doesn't give you any idea how equal the society is. And she wants to introduce a measure of national well-being with a lot of indicators related to the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is how nations can actually implement these global goals. But let's go ahead. I think we are all aware about it. We keep this in mind. And we want to get rid of fossil fuel use in our countries and make sure that we have a livable planet even for the next generations to come. Then the LECo project, Ola told me we don't have to introduce the project as a whole, but let me just pick out the points which are important for why we are here today. I think one of the outputs is that we should create community energy system models and scenarios, which is then defined in the LECo project document as activity 2.5, develop community energy system models, simulation and scenario development. Then we have 3 deliverables under this activity. The first one is to a specific community energy systems model for each partner community implemented in energy plan. So today we lay the foundation, we teach each other, also with the help of Xavier and Christoph perhaps, how to use energy plan and how to create an energy system model in the community itself. The next step is then, when you know how to use energy plan, have created your base case, create scenarios, and develop the scenarios, implement them in the model and do your analysis and report on that. And then reporting on the scenarios, on the model, like having a 4 to 6 pages report on the model itself, I think is an important deliverable in the project itself. Yeah. And that I think all these steps, all of us have to contribute to a certain level. We in Sweden, my colleague Karl-Erik, some of you have met him in Germany. He's currently doing this work with the Swedish communities in cooperation, and he will come up with some template for the report, and then you can use this as your template and adapt to your local circumstances. Then we have the activity 2.7. Develop and deliver webinars on energy modeling and energy strategic development. And this is why we have decided to have Mike here today with us and film the whole thing. Later we will have edited versions of the presentations today on the website of LECo, available for everyone, and also on the Facebook page we have. I hope some of you, if you are on Facebook, you will find LECo. If you Google LECo, you will find the LECo page. We have not so many who share information there. It's mainly Ola and myself. But I think what we put up there is really interesting for energy communities to look at. So follow us there.